Now, typically after United play, the day after, I will pull out the big talking point and speak about it. But I don't think we learned anything new from that game against Spurs. Same old problems that have existed all season. They reared their ugly head again in that second half. So instead, I'm going to focus on Villa. Focus on Manchester United playing at Old Trafford on Sunday. The top four is still well in our hands. Drawing against Spurs, disappointing. Felt like a bit of a loss after how good we were in that first half. But it's fine. All right, it's not doom and gloom at all, but I'll tell you what, we are tiring towards the end of this season. We've been tiring ever since the League Cup final, if I'm being completely honest. I'm going to run through some changes that I think need to happen in the starting 11 for us to get some control over a 90-minute period rather than one half either side. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe. Become part of the community if you're new. But look at the table, right? This is what I mean about don't panic. There's no doom and gloom. Man United are in 4th position. We've got 6 points on Spurs with 2 games in hand. I would probably argue that Aston Villa and Liverpool are bigger threats than Tottenham Hotspur. That's just how I feel. So going into this game on Sunday, it's a big one. But I tell you what, I'm glad we are playing at home. That's the first thing I would say. Manchester United at home this season. We've beaten City, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal. Not all of our best performances, Barcelona in the Europa League as well. We're a different beast at home, and we need to take that home advantage, because away from home, we'll assess it at the end of the season, because it's crap. At Old Trafford, though, we are different. Now, against Spurs, Erik Ten Hag, from a lot of fans, was criticised for his substitutes. This is what he said after the game. He said, look, brought on Fred, who can win the ball, Martial, who can keep the ball, had Rashford, Anthony, and Bruno to make the runs in behind. In my opinion, the problem wasn't the fact that Ten Hag made subs. The problem was that the subs themselves were absolutely crap when they came on. That was the issue. The issue was how bad our subs were, not the subs were made. Now, if we're looking at this starting 11, right, this is the team that played against Spurs. And for me, there are a couple of issues that we saw and a couple of changes that I think need to be made in this team. Now, first and foremost, can we just say how impressive Luke Shaw has been at centre-back, and Shaw and Lindelof as an auxiliary, temporary, desperate. No, desperate's a bit harsh, but it pretty much is. Martinez and Varane are both out. Our main centre-backs, Lindelof and Shaw, have stepped in and stepped up. I don't think they were an issue against Spurs. In my opinion. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. But I'll tell you one thing I definitely did see, and Ten Hag spoke about this after the game. Some players thought 90% was enough. Now, you can let me know which players you think Ten Hag was referring to. But I have to say that Wan-Bissaka, I saw it pretty much the whole game. I'm not saying that he's got to close down his man and leave so much space in behind him that if a defender skips past him, he's going to run into it. But in that situation, you're going to back Wan-Bissaka to win it. Malacia was woeful when he came on. Wan-Bissaka didn't have that commitment. He, for me, was one of those 90% players. I actually think that back five stays the same. But I think Ten Hag pulls Wan-Bissaka in and questions him for that. Not questions him like as an interrogation. Just say, look, Aaron, this is an issue. This needs to be resolved. We can't afford to have 90% performances. But there were players that, in my opinion, affected the game more than Wan-Bissaka against Spurs. And we've got to speak about CASEMIRO. I think ever since the League Cup final, this entire squad has dropped down a notch or two. I've said it, and I've maintained it all the way through, and this is yet more evidence of that Spurs game. Our season peaked against Newcastle in the Cup final, and we are struggling. We just need to grind out the end of this season. These next 3 games, we've got Villa at home, Brighton away, and West Ham away. Tough. And we're crap away from home, so do the job on Sunday. And CASEMIRO is a big reason. If we're going to do it, he needs to buck up his game, man. Where are you? CASEMIRO is just... Everything seems difficult for CASEMIRO at the moment. Short passes, tackles, interceptions, everything. He's a yard short, making indecisions. I remember it when I was watching in Wembley. I think he lost possession like 4 times, just slow on the ball, and got the ball nicked off his foot. CASEMIRO is better than that. And he starts this game. For me, absolutely CASEMIRO starts this game. Someone who doesn't start is Fred. Now, with Fred, there's something I want to say. I've said it the whole way through, right? Let's just take Eriksen out of this team for right now. If you play Fred in this position, Do not be surprised if he has a crap performance. If you play Fred in this position, further forward, so he can run and aggressively press the defense, and he can press in the final third, you are going to get more out of Fred. That is where you use Fred. Do not use Fred in a double pivot. I would say that was a mistake from Erik Ten Hag to trust that he could do that, because he can't. And that's where I think the change has to happen on Sunday, because I think the only way United get real control over a 90-minute game, the only time that United have control is when Casemiro's on the pitch and Eriksen's on the pitch. And this is the thing. This is why I would bring SABITZER into this starting 11. And I would drop Eriksen to the bench. Now, the reason I'm saying that is not because Eriksen, I think, was at fault against Spurs, because I think Eriksen was fantastic. But I'm thinking, if we're going to try and maintain a level of control over 90 minutes, and that only really happens when Casemiro or Eriksen's on the pitch, then spread them out. Instead of having them both on and then taking them one off, and then Casemiro was leggy anyway. Start SABITZER, let him do the hard yards and the hard graft in the first 50, 60 minutes of the game, and bring Eriksen on to see out that last 30, to still maintain that element of control. And you could put play Bruno in a little bit of a deeper role, have SABITZER playing a little bit further forward, like he has done in a few games, and that could well happen. Now that I think about it, that's probably more likely. But I wouldn't start Casemiro and Eriksen, just so we've got Eriksen to come on and give us that control when we need it in the second half of that game. I think, for me, that's quite an important change I think needs to happen. Because if you start exactly the same team that we started against Spurs, right? If you start Eriksen here, and it gets towards the end of the game, you're taking Eriksen off, who are you bringing on to control it? McTominay's injured. He's not really a controller anyway. SABITZER, SABITZER would maybe have been a better choice than Fred, but both SABITZER and Fred are better in this position. And I'm not putting Fred there, because Fred just can't play there. So I would probably say drop Bruno deeper, because we're at Old Trafford, right? We've seen that he can do that. And I think we've got a confidence. As I said, you've got to be confident about United at Old Trafford. Villa might be banging form. They're 6th now. They've won 4 at the last 5. Incredible job Unai Emery has done. But I would definitely put Eriksen on the bench to bring him on in that second half. In terms of the attack, what would you change? Because I'm not sure if I'd change anything, if I'm honest. Martial did not look fit when he came off the bench. He's not 100%. Sancho, there you are. That goal was brilliant from Sancho. Touch, inside, no hesitation. It's the no hesitation that I enjoyed the most. Because so often this season, he's just taken that extra touch or moved there, and then the chance is gone. Touch, inside, bang. Bent it into the bottom corner. Lovely goal. Sancho starts this game for me. And Rashford starts up front. We've got Martial to bring on. He can help in that sense. I think the biggest concern I've got is what happens when Antony goes off. Because there's a massive drop in this team when Antony goes off. I think I would prefer to see Pellistri come on. If Antony does need to go off, ideally Antony would last 90 minutes. I don't know whether he's not got the fitness for it. He looked pretty pissed off when he got taken off against Spurs, so maybe he felt he could do 90. But if he does have to come off, I would much rather see Pellistri there, or maybe even Bruno pushed out wide. Because Antony, when he goes off, this team balance changes. I don't think people realise how... Or maybe they do, actually. I certainly do. So maybe you all do as well. But I would definitely bring Bruno into the deeper role, SABITZER into the number 10, and leave Eriksen to come on and see this last 30 out. Help us maintain control across the whole 90, rather than just one half. My prediction for this game. We're at Old Trafford, man. I'm going to go for a 3-1. Now, I was spot on with the 2-2, so let's hope I'm spot on with this one. You've got to be confident. Look, if we win here, what are the results this weekend? The fixtures. Have a look. Who's playing who? Saturday. Premier League, you got Brighton are at home against Wolves. You back them to win that. Let's go a little bit bigger there so you can see that. Brighton are at home against Wolves. Yeah, they're going to win that. On Sunday, Liverpool are playing Spurs are away to Liverpool. There you go. We could see them out of sight. Ideally, you probably look for a draw there. Both drop points. That would be lovely. But the way Spurs played in that first half, you wouldn't back them. Newcastle at home, Southampton, you'd be backing them to win that. But sob what everyone else is doing. Focus on United. Play like we did in that first half and have the element of control with Eriksen coming on for the last 30. we should be beating Aston Villa, even if they are banging form. Let me know. This season's a struggle towards the end, man. This season is a struggle. We've got to grind it out. And we've got to be winning our home games because sod knows what we're going to do when we go away from home. Because it's certainly a different United to turn up. What's your prediction? You let me know in the comments below. As you always do, make sure you subscribe and become part of the family.